Hello everyone, welcome to video 14 of my Claude series. Today I will be discussing about a scenario. Some days back I found a bug. Some record was getting served twice. I explained the whole flow to Claude and asked me to question before answering. So Claude asked me 3 questions and I found the bug in 10 minutes without any guessing. Now this is a rubber duck process. So I will be explaining it in this video. We have to understand why it works, because when you are stuck, your mental model of the code is wrong, and if we read it again the same code, it doesn't fix it because you just reread it with the same wrong model. Explaining it loud forces you to rebuild that model from scratch, and rebuilding exposes the gap. Claude speeds this up because it asks clarifying questions, and those questions target exactly the assumption you never examined. In this video, I will be explaining all this process, nothing is cleaned up. So let's get started. In this slide, we will be explaining rubber duck debugging process. The technique here is we don't paste the error and ask what's wrong. We follow these following 4 techniques. First is we describe the system, what it does and what data flows through it. So in the right side, we can see that I am debugging an issue in our payment service. Let me explain. The service processes Kafka messages from payment service topic. Each message updates payment status in the database. So this is describing the system. Then describing the observed bug. So here our issue is duplicate updates occasionally. Same payment ID updates twice within minutes. This is the issue. Third is list what you have ruled out already. Here I write that my understanding of the flow 1, 2, 3, 4. I have added a unique constraint, getting constraint violation in production but can't reproduce locally. So this is what I have ruled out already. And then end with what questions do you have before we start diagnosis. So first is we tell that what questions do you have before we start diagnosing. So Claude asks, is the Kafka consumer setup with concurrency greater than 1? Is updated status transactional? Then engineer gives the answer. So we have to understand why it works. As I said before also, the explanation forces you to reconstruct your mental model. Reconstruction exposes the gap, and Claude's clarifying questions target exactly the assumption we haven't examined. Now we will be discussing about another pattern, which is think-aloud. It let Claude catch your mistakes. So what we do is we narrate our reasoning out loud so that we walk through the problem and then ask Claude to confirm or correct us. So it is something like we start with I think the issue is in, then we walk through the reasoning step by step, and then we end each sentence with does that reasoning make sense? So first is I think the issue is in database layer. The constraint violation suggests 2 writes before either commits. This means the transaction boundary must be wrong. Then we say the reasoning step by step. I am going to check payment service. I suspect at the transactional is missing. Then we do say wait, is it there? So the issue must be at the consumer level. And then we also say many things, right? And then we say in the end, does that reasoning make sense or am I missing something? So it is like you are thinking aloud and talking with Claude. Then Claude gives you the answer, your reasoning has a flaw or whatever, right? Kafka doesn't deliver the message in 2 consumers group or 2 consumers in the same group. And then we check this and then we found the real bug. Now after 15 minutes being stuck in the same bug, we can switch to rubber duck if think-aloud doesn't work. Explain the problem face to rubber duck. The act of explaining often finds the bug before Claude says anything. Now a question will come into our mind that when to use each mode. We saw rubber duck mode, we saw direct answer mode. So rubber duck is when we are stuck for more than 15 minutes, the bug only happened in one environment, we don't know where to start, the system has many interacting parts, your explanation has gaps that you can't understand. So then we use rubber duck mode. When we use direct answer mode, is like we have a specific well defined questions. We need Claude example of snippet. We understand the problem, just need the fix. It's a straightforward lookup. We can write up a precise questions like think aloud. We will think aloud and then tell this is this, and if Claude can find the answer, good. If not good, then we switch to rubber duck. So these are the 3 word formula: explain, question, narrate. So first is explain the problem, second is ask Claude to ask you questions, and third is narrate your reasoning and invite corrections. We can follow this, and this will solve most of the bugs which we can find in any production system or any system using any language.